Hello to all my booty seekers and cheek chasers. This is the Carpe Natem Podcast. I'm your host, Nate De La Hoya-Reynoso, and I am so grateful you are listening to this episode. If you're new here, you should know that I believe that my purpose is to uplift, inspire, and educate others to communicate masterfully so that they can better understand themselves and the world around them. I've spent years in the personal development and transformational technology space, and I want to share with you the wisdom that was passed down to me from giants in the industry. So if you're on a journey of self-mastery just like me, looking to make dreams a reality and willing to be a leader for your family and community, then join me in seizing the butt cheeks of life and giving them a big ol' squeeze. Let's jump into the show. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Carpe Natem Podcast. You know who I am. I am your amazing host and person to guide you for the next 20 minutes on some ideas that maybe can shape your life for the better. I've been reading a lot of Byron Katie's books. One of them in particular is called Loving What Is. And in this book, she discusses something called The Work. And it's a series of questions that help you disassemble and look at your thoughts objectively and truly see what thoughts you are putting energy behind, what thoughts you are allowing to take up your time, take up space in your mind, take up energy that could be better used to serve you instead of to harm you. Something that Byron Katie emphasizes is that she doesn't want you to stop thinking or to stop having the thoughts that you have. She just wants you to have an awareness of these thoughts. And with the awareness of the thoughts, you can question them. You can ask yourself, why do you believe what you believe? An example of this, and I know this may seem kind of silly for some people, but if you make a mistake, usually if I drop something on the floor or maybe I spill a little bit of liquid on my shirt, I'll say, I'm such a fuck up. Like, I'll say something like that, so brash, so harsh. And even though it's coming from a place of frustration, even though I know I'm not a fuck up, the fact that I say that out loud about myself or to myself in my head, I have to be aware of that thought. And then I ask myself, am I a fuck up? Well, what is a fuck up? A fuck up is somebody who's not doing well in life, who hurts others, who leeches off of people. Like, we all have our understanding of what a fuck up is. And if I'm calling myself that, I don't meet that definition. So why am I being so harsh on myself for making such a simple mistake? And I extend the question to whoever is listening. How often do you harshly criticize yourself over small, tiny, menial things? It's understandable to feel failure when something isn't accomplished, or maybe guilt if you feel like there is something that you should be doing that you're not doing. But to call yourself something so harsh, whether it be in the privacy of your own home, in your own mind, out loud, internally, it's so harsh. And you ask yourself, is it true? Well, it's not true. Okay, then what should we do with this thought? Like, we replace it, we turn it around. I am not a fuck up. I'm actually an intelligent person. I am a good person. I can say any of these positive things about myself. You can say any positive thing about yourself. It's a turnaround. So turn around that thought from something so negative to something positive, something encouraging. Because when you have that thought of, I'm a fuck up, how do you feel? What are the feelings that you have when you say to yourself, I'm a fuck up, and you believe that you are that thing? You probably feel terrible. You probably feel sad. I would bet that you wouldn't really have any positive emotional reaction to that. It would all be something upsetting, all negative emotions. And if we were to change that thought and turn it around to something opposite, instead of saying that I'm a fuck up, to saying like, I am a person that makes mistakes, but I am growing and learning. And I know that's a lot to say over a spilled coffee on some shirt, but if you can have that level of awareness and you're able to analyze the thoughts that you're having And then ask yourself why you believe these things. Be critical about which beliefs in your head you allow to run your life. And you can do the same thing with every single question and every single thought that you have in your head. For example, say you're feeling down, or maybe you're feeling off about yourself, and the thought that you have in your head is, no one really likes me at work. Well, ask yourself, is it true? And you may answer saying, yeah, it is true. Okay. How do you know it's true? Well, sometimes I don't get invited to office parties. And then like, okay, is that true? Yes, it may be true. What are you making that mean, that you are not invited to office parties? Why are you so dependent on validation from people that you work with in order to feel happy and needed? Because whether or not you get invited to office parties, it just is. The story you choose to attach to what is and what has happened is what you use to perceive the world around you. It's that story. So maybe you feel like nobody wants you at your office because you don't get invited to these parties, and that may be true, but whatever story you're attaching to that is really what's going to dictate how you feel and how you're perceived. And there's obviously solutions to this. You can ask the person who's in charge of planning parties why you don't get invited. It could be an error on their part. It could be a plethora of reasons why. But unless you know, then you don't know. And if you don't know, you're creating made up scenarios of why something is the way it is. And again, you are attaching a story to whatever is happening to you. And it stems from some sort of need that's dependent on something outside of you. Because whether you get invited to parties or not, whether you have 1,000 friends or 2 friends, it really depends on how you feel about what's happening around you that makes a difference. This is getting really woo-woo, and I understand. I would highly recommend you read Loving What Is by Byron Katie and look at some of the examples she uses for what she calls the work. And it's really helped me look at my thoughts objectively and try to analyze, why do I have these reactions? Why do I speak to myself in this way? Why do I respond to others in this way? What is the story that I'm telling myself? What stories am I attaching to the events that have happened to me? Can I be happy without needing something from someone outside of me or something outside of my own brain? And the best thing that I've really gotten from overanalyzing my thoughts, questioning my thoughts, sitting with uncomfortable feelings, and really doing some inquiry on myself and on my being, I've come to realize that I was giving too much energy to beliefs and thoughts that didn't serve me. The more present I become, the more awareness I have of everything around me, the more at peace I feel with whatever is happening. Because whether you are feeling discomfort, whether you are feeling great pleasure, whether you are in the middle of winning something amazing for your team, whether you are in the losing side and you're about to watch the other team destroy your team, like, it doesn't matter, because everything that is happening just is. And you can choose to be enthusiastic and content with whatever's happening around you, or you can be upset and miserable and angry at everything around you. The choice, again, is always in your hands. I feel like inquiry and this real deep look into your thoughts truly is another way to gain freedom, to gain some sense of responsibility and place it in your hands. You dictate how good of a day you have. You dictate how much effort you want to put in to the things around you so that you can look at everything around you happiness and joy instead of anger and disappointment. This is basic glass half full versus glass half empty kind of thinking, but both answers don't matter because the glass is always refillable. If I choose to create a story around what the glass means and what the liquid inside it means to me, and that it affects me negatively, and that the reason that everything is wrong in my life is because I always get a glass that's half empty, that same person has to go through the same trials and tribulations as the person who looks at the glass half full, like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get an empty glass. I'm so grateful the liquid that I have in it. Or maybe I won't drink the liquid in the cup, but I'm glad someone thought of me enough to give me a glass half full of liquid. It's just that same person has to go through the same struggles as the other person. They have to go to work. They have to get up. They have to put in hours at their job. They have to deal with relationships. They have to go through traffic. Both people will have different perceptions of their days. And in tragedies and in terrible situations, to be able to sit with your thoughts, grieve normally, but don't create a story that derives meaning from the tragedy, where you begin to blame yourself for the thing that happened and that it must mean something because this thing happened to you. Nope, it just happened. Unfortunately, it happened. But you cannot beat yourself up for it. You cannot bring yourself down. Having a mindset of things happen for me, not to me, will definitely shift perspective and change the way you look at life. I feel like it's so easy nowadays to be in autopilot, to disassociate and hide away in our partners or our phones, where we tend to not like the environment that we are currently in, so we escape from it using some form of video game, movie, could be some sort of addiction. And my heart goes out to the people who are currently struggling with something because they choose not to see the world around them for what it is and what they can do to improve and get out. And I know that's hard for some people to swallow, but it's the truth. Because whatever situation you are in, there's somebody who has been through it and gotten to better places. So you can too. But if you choose to look at your surroundings and see everything as negative and out to get you, then that's the only thing that you will come across. And it is like a echo chamber where the things that happen to you only reaffirm the negative things you already believe. But if you're going through life positively and you're looking at it with a glass refillable type mindset, then even when the glass spills, you know that you can always pick the glass up and put something else in it. If it shatters, you get a new cup. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change who you are. You are not your mistakes. You are not who you were at your lowest point in life. You are the person who is here and now, who has survived every single bad day that they've been through so far and can survive a whole lot more. I really hope what you take away from this episode is that you are able to look at the thoughts that you have and see which ones you're believing and which ones you're giving energy to. And by having that awareness, you can then shift your focus onto something positive. You can turn it around and then feel and say the opposite and really question yourself. Like, when you think these negative thoughts, how do you feel? What emotions are you currently experiencing? And when you think the opposite and you do a turnaround, what feelings do you feel? Do you feel happy? Do you feel prideful? Do you feel joyful? Then you ask yourself, which one do you want to pick? Which one do you want to choose? Do you want to be happy today, or do you want to be upset? Do you want to be mad all day because somebody cut you off while you were driving to work? Or do you just want to let that person be, wish them the best in life, be grateful that you didn't collide into each other, and go on through the rest of your day? One sounds a whole lot better to me, personally, and I hope it's the same one that sounds good to you. You do not have to believe every thought that comes across your mind. Choose the ones that serve you best. And those are the ones you let flourish. Those are the ones you give energy to. Those are the ones that you let carry you throughout your day. And as you start collecting these good thoughts, you will grow a garden of beautiful thoughts that will live in your mind and flourish. And even in the darkest of days, you will have created a sanctuary in a place that no one else can reach but you, your mind. If you would like to know more, I highly recommend looking up Byron Katie's Loving What Is, as well as looking into inquiry and her 4 questions that she has in her program. Most of these resources are free online, so there's really no excuse to not change your mindset, to not change your perspective. Because if you shift your perspective, you can truly change your world. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Carpe Natem Podcast. If you loved this episode, please consider leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Music or iTunes. It takes 30 seconds for you, but for us, it helps spread positivity to more people during these chaotic times. It helps build a community, and it makes me smile from ear to ear. Speaking of community, we have a Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/Carpe Natem. Just answer the 3 questions to access some extra motivation and inspiration for your timeline. If you would like to support the podcast, screenshot this episode, share this to your story, and tag me on Instagram at Carpe Natem 114. That's going to be my handle across all platforms, including TikTok. If you would like to give me a follow, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please rate us and subscribe on Spotify or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. And lastly, you can find all episodes, linked to resources, and opportunities for coaching and mentoring from me at carpenatem114.com. I cannot thank you enough for spending part of your day with me. You are all rock stars taking the necessary steps to be your best self, willing to do whatever it takes, and ready to grab life by the butt cheeks. So until next time, this is Nate De La Hoya-Reynoso signing off.